This week we're talking about June 12th through the 18th. The new moon is in Gemini and Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. This week, the new moon in Gemini raises our conscious awareness to ask questions, be better listeners, communicators, and connectors. Saturn in Pisces begins its retrograde transit while the moon, sun, and Mercury in Gemini align with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, pushing us to ask questions compassionately in order to get the facts to validate our intuition.
The weekly transit.
Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth. I'm Scott Tajarian. I'm an interpreter of this language. Join me and my co-host Ingrid Iverson, who helps bring an even more practical look at this astral language. The weekly transit is here to bring clarity to the chaos, so you can ride the planetary waves instead of the planets riding you.
The weekly transit.
Good morning, Scott.
Good afternoon, Ingrid.
I guess it's afternoon. It's literally
No,
1.
it's nighttime. It's actually nighttime right now.
Oh, okay. So number 1, I have to go reread it. I was just looking at my, you get secret messages on Instagram.
Okay.
So I just listened to it, but I didn't have time to respond yet. If she's out there listening, she sent these really beautiful voice notes.
Mm-hmm.
And number 1, she was just very supportive. And number 2, she was like, yes, actually, Scott did sing.
Oh, yes.
The whisper part. And I loved it. And I love his vulnerability, and never take out Scott singing, because he's like, just makes it, he's so happy that he sings to us.
I love it. So
I thought it was so cute and sweet and just so supportive. So I maybe just in my mind, I was like, okay, Scott, you've gone off the deep end with this whisper sing, because I said I took it out, and then maybe I thought about taking it out, and then I was like, no, it's cute or sweet, or I don't know. So it's still there. So I'm not sure. That person must have blacked out at that point.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess
I have to accuse my friend of not really listening to the full show or something. I don't know. Like because he was like, cute? Oh, it wasn't in there, but I'm glad it was. Yeah, I like that.
You
part.
Put him into a trance.
Yes, and she did leave a message like on Spotify too. It says, all caps, the whisper, and then part of the I'm Not in Love song actually was all caps on the podcast, and we all heard and loved it. 3 exclamation points. Aww. With a smiley face emoji. So I'm not sure what happened on your end, but it did come through for us. And so, yeah, it was positive.
So if anybody wants to hear Scott's beautiful cameo, it is 2 weeks ago's episode, and he will sing you a beautiful lullaby by 10cc.
A song that Ingrid probably still hasn't listened to.
I haven't listened to it. I haven't listened to it.
Hilarious.
I will listen. It's on my list of my homework.
Yeah. Okay. All good.
So what's new? I have actually. Okay, you go first. Do you have anything new?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess totally. I mean, Gabriella graduated from college, or she got her master's in counseling psychology, marriage and family therapist. So very exciting. It was an amazing weekend. I did a post on Instagram about it, and you can just see from the look on her face how ecstatic she was. I mean, I've never seen her look and feel so happy. I mean, she's
worked so hard for so long.
Mm-hmm. And I'm most proud because, it's amazing to finish this program. Pacifica is an incredible school. Anyone who's looking to get into depth psychology, becoming a therapist, it's a Carl Jung based school. It's really just it's in Santa Barbara. The campus is beautiful, and just the people that work there, the staff, the the professors, they are just so loving and caring and open-hearted. And but I'm really proud because she worked on this thesis for, God, I don't, like a year almost. I mean, like she'd been thinking about it for a year. But she's a Libra sun and a Virgo moon, so she has trouble making decisions, and she's a perfectionist. So it had to get down to that point where, oh my God, if I don't pick a topic, then I'm not going to graduate. And so it's like, just pick a topic. And so she did.
I can relate to that.
Yes. And so she picked her topic, and then she was working on it to no end, and it was just never good enough. And so finally it got to the point where it's like, if you don't turn this in, you're not going to graduate. And there are people that didn't turn in their thesis, and now they have to wait until like the next semester or whatever to graduate. Yeah, I was like, you are definitely turning it in. I don't care how bad you think it is, like, because you're not continuing school. You're done now. So
Scott said you're done.
And so they were given an opportunity to present the thesis at school. And so she wrote her thesis on individuation, which is a philosophy of Carl Jung, and the North Node and astrology, and how can astrology and individuation help lead someone to wholeness and like understanding who they are. And so she was focused on the North Node, and she wasn't sure if she was going to present it or not, because she didn't have to. It's the day before graduation, like, you're done. And so it's just kind of a nice thing for the students to do. And she wasn't sure if she wanted to, but then she was like, you know what, I want to.
Wait, so what is presenting meaning? Like speaking in front of
front of people. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. So, she's an Aries North Node, like you. And so she needs to be decisive and put her face out there and those sorts of things. She wants to hide behind people because she's the Libra South Node and the Libra Sun. But she's like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And then it wasn't until like the night before that she was like, you know what, I actually really want to do this. I want it to be good. And she was up until like 2 a.m. working on slides for like the visual presentation, slept like 3 hours. We drove up to Santa Barbara. Luckily, she was one of the first presenters, because it was a long day. 16 people presented from her cohort, and she crushed it. She was amazing. And so many people were asking her about the North Node, and, oh, where's my North Node? Where's my North Node? And everybody wanted to know. But I was just so proud of her to see her up there and speaking. She was very much in command of what she was sharing.
She has a way about her that is, and not in an aggressive way, but she is like, really knows how to stand her ground and just be commanding and interesting and interested and very intelligent. Like, I mean, I've only spent a short amount of time with her, but she made such a big impact on me. I feel like I just like know her somehow so deeply by the few times we got to spend together. We spent one of my birthdays together.
Yes. You came over to our house when we were at the other place.
Yeah, we had a really beautiful meal. You guys cooked for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So now that she's done with the thesis and everything, now we can have you over. And like, she's like, I don't want to be social with anyone until I'm done with this graduation, because it's just she was just so deep in this work. She's like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And so I was just so proud to see her up in front of everyone, sharing her knowledge. And she has
the North Node, but like also fulfilling her North Node. Her North Node,
exactly. Yes. And she doesn't see that about herself. She doesn't see that I'm like, you're actually intimidating. Like, you don't understand.
She's 100%.
Yeah. And she doesn't see herself that way.
I think she's going to make an amazing therapist because she's,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't want to, I mean, I think she could be intimidating if she wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
but like she just has a presence about her that feels like she just knows. Like she's so
Hmm.
wise
Hmm.
and wise way beyond her years. I feel like she's lived a million years.
Totally. Yeah.
And
She's an
just
old soul for sure.
yeah, the ability to hold space. And I just think it's such a special type of character that also reminds me of you in a lot of ways, where it's like
Hmm.
you guys just feel wise. And that
Hmm.
is something that is beautiful to be able to share with other people. Like the wisdom that you have acquired, being able to share it with other people in a way that is digestible is such a gift.
Yes. Yes. I thank you, Ingrid. Thank you. I felt so fortunate. We stayed with my cousin lives up in Santa Barbara, and like when we walked into her house after the all day presentation, which was exhausting, it was like 6 hours, and then they had this whole closing ceremony, which was so beautiful, and just the people in Gabriella's. You're my two women, the closest women in my life aside from my
Yeah.
sister and mom. But her cohort, so I just want to share a couple things. Like when she went to school, when she got in, and she was like, I'm going to Pacifica or I'm not going to graduate school at all. Like it's
Yeah.
Pacifica or bust. And so she got in, and they said you can start on one of these 3 dates. And so we looked at where the planets were going to be aligned
Of course
on
you
each of
did.
those dates
Yay.
in alignment with her chart. And I was like, I didn't choose for her, but I did tell her, like, these are the gifts and challenges of these different dates. There was one that stood out very clear to me as like the best one, and that's the one that she chose. And it's so magical because the people in her cohort, which is the group of people that she was going through all these classes with for the last 3 school years, they are so amazing, and they have such an incredible relationship with each other. It's like they're like a family. Like the relationships that she's cultivated with these other individuals. I just had the best time hanging out with them. Especially after the graduation, we went over to one of the women's houses who lives in Santa Barbara, and just felt such a deep connection. All these people have been working so hard over the last 2.5 years, and they've come from all different walks of life, but they're doing this because they want to help in mental health. And so it's very inspiring to see. I was also inspired because we stayed with my cousin, and when we walked into her house after that first long day, there was a balloon that said like congratulations grad or something like that, and there was a bottle of champagne with 2 glasses, and I was just like, wow. And there was a card, and Gabriella's like crying. She's like, oh my god, like they did this for me. Like, yes. Wow, I didn't know they were going to do that. But my cousin and her wife, they're just such loving, caring people, and just so generous. And
I'm
so
crying.
yes, I mean, it's like they're
Mm,
so much love, so much appreciation and support. It was truly, I've never been more proud in my life than being there for Gabriella on her graduation day. It was like the proudest moment of my life. I was like so happy.
aw.
It's been such a journey, you know, of what we've gone through to get her to this point, and I'm so grateful to have been able to be a support for her along this road.
I mean, yeah, you guys, I feel like it's been a really intense, just last year specifically in terms of moving and so much
Mm-hmm.
house stuff, even before, I guess maybe almost 2 years of just so many home issues, and you guys both work from home and just trying to figure out where you're going to be located. I think that these things, when we don't know the people involved, like just, I feel emotional over Gabriella just having some sort of freedom and accomplishment where she can like breathe and like live and kind of fulfill her soul's purpose instead of just working so hard all the time. And then you also working so hard all the time, it's just like when is there going to be a break? Like you hear someone's graduated or someone moved, it's just like, oh yeah, everyone does that all the time. And it's like, oh my God, it is not easy. Like in those, it is some trying times completing something like that program and just figuring out a new space to live and kind of starting your life over in a new city it's just
Totally.
a lot.
She went from corporate America to being a therapist.
She was working at Nike.
Yeah,
Like, that's
exactly.
the most opposite.
And it's interesting to hear all these different individuals that graduated with Gabriella and where they've come from in life and different places and to be where they are now. So
people always think of like college or like school as being like your early 20s, but like the older you get, I mean, I went to school when I was in my early 20s, but like it gets much harder to, you have more responsibilities, you have more life experience. It gets harder to balance. Your expenses are more intense. So when you're older and trying to complete something like this, there's also a lot more soul and purpose attached to it. Where in your 20s, it's just like you don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know why you're going. I literally don't know why. I'm
supposed to go to college.
That's literally how I ended up in college. I have I had no purpose. I didn't gather anything from it. People are like, oh yeah, you went to school. I'm like, I literally learned nothing. I promise you. Maybe it was good discipline, but it was a waste of my time.
You sound like Gabriella. Oh my God. That's what she said. She's like, I don't even remember if I walked in graduation, let alone like remembering my graduation. She's like, because I thought school was so dumb. I was like, I all I remember is when I graduated from college, this is Gabriella. She's like, okay, I'm done learning because that was a waste of time. Like I feel like that was the dumbest.
Well, when you're not learning things that feel purposeful to you, there truly is no point. Like if you, I think that teachers are very important because if you, like for me, if I connected with the teacher, then I would be more passionate about the subject and maybe I would retain it and it would be purposeful in some way. Like I actually liked, what's it called? Physics, because you were learning math, but it was like, oh, the use for math in real life. Otherwise it's like, well, why am I learning that? Why am I reading fucking English books and like all this stories about people that I don't give a fuck about? I don't want to read Hamlet. I still never want to read that shit. I want to be entertained. Like I love learning, but I like learning about things that I'm passionate about. So when you commit to something, when you already know you're passionate about it and you want to complete it, like that is, like she said, it's either this school or nothing. Like this is what I want this. I don't want anything that's out there. That's not interesting to me. I think that in itself is very North Node. And if anyone, we talk about North Node on here a lot, but if you're new to the podcast or you don't know, if you go on YouTube, there is a North Node highlight reel. It's basically your soul's purpose, figuring out why you're here. It's usually uncomfortable, but that's how you open up and kind of step into your power.
Yes. And that is what this program did for Gabriella. I mean, it really made her face her fears. And by facing her fears and her insecurities and stepping towards them instead of away from them, she reached this great accomplishment where it was like the happiest moment of her life. I mean,
this is the end of an era.
Yes, totally. So
is there anything in her chart specifically that would kind of reflect this graduation in her astrological her chart?
What's interesting is when we first met, her Neptune, the planet of confusion, illusion, deception, was conjunct with her midheaven, which is the highest point of achievement in her career. And when we first met, she was very confused about what she was doing with her life, about what her goals were, what her ambitions were. She was lost, and she had some ideas and had some hopes, but she was also deceived by some people that she had these hopes with. And so they didn't pan out. And so now that Neptune has moved further into her 10th house and cleared away from the midheaven, now she's starting to be able to really imagine and reimagine the dream of what it is she's meant to achieve. So when you're going through a Neptune 10th house transit, and not everybody does, because Neptune, it takes 162 years for it to
wow.
transit through the zodiac.
So it's like half the people do and half the people don't.
Exactly.
And also that could be happening when you're so young that it's kind of less you're less
Totally.
aware of, tapping into that stuff.
Yes. So when it starts whenever Neptune moves into a house, that's when you become disillusioned by whatever that house is. So if it moves into your 7th house, you become disillusioned by relationships. If it moves into your 1st house, you're becoming disillusioned about who you are.
And then will you define disillusioned for me?
Like where you're confused, where you don't know who you are. Like, I don't know who I am. Like if it's in relationship, it's like, why am I with this person? It doesn't make sense. Or maybe that person ends up deceiving you in some way that causes you to feel like, I don't know who I'm with. I don't understand what this relationship is anymore. It doesn't make sense to me. But by the time Neptune moves out of that house, hopefully you've reimagined the dream and you've created a new reality, and you're no longer disillusioned, but you have faith now in relationship. So by the time Neptune moves out of Gabriella's 10th house, she will hopefully have faith in what it is she's doing with her life, as opposed to when it moved
sounds
in.
Like that's already starting to happen for her.
Exactly. So, but she's a 9th house Jupiter, and Jupiter rules the 9th house. The 9th house is the house of higher learning. So she's a naturally good student. I think like her worst grade that she had while she was in graduate school was like an A-.
Yeah, I figured.
So, and she always thought her papers were so bad. Oh, that was awful. And then she gets
that
like a
Virgo
perfect
energy.
Exactly. Virgo moon. It's like never good enough. So she was literally on the drive up. She was on the computer still tinkering with her PowerPoint presentation for her for her thesis presentation, and she was still tinkering with it.
Well, I love to hear all this. This is very exciting. I feel like this is like a new era for you as well.
Yes.
As an individual and as a couple. Like a lot of changes are going to happen because of this.
Absolutely.
More free. There's going to be some more freedom.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Yay. Well.
Yes. Tell me about you.
Well, I don't want to go on too long because you had a lot of sharing. There was some big news.
Yeah.
I guess some basics. I don't know what's happening in the last like 24 hours, but I got a text message not last night, but the night before in the middle of the night that my mom fell and broke her arm, or that my parents were at the hospital and apparently she broke her arm. Well, thank goodness that my parents never go to the doctor. So like if they were at the hospital, I was like, okay, something's not good.
Yeah.
So I was really excited that they went and they're, taking care of it, but I feel really bad. I know. So and they put a temporary cast on her, and she still has to see a specialist before they put the whole thing in a cast. But I think she broke her wrist and possibly her like upper arm.
How did this happen?
She was shaving her legs. Thank God she wasn't in the actual shower. She was using like an electric razor with her like foot up on the sink, and she just slipped.
Oh my God.
She said she tried not to like hit her head on the tub.
Oh.
So she just landed all her weight on her arm.
Oh, wow.
And luckily my dad got home like 10 minutes after it happened.
Well, oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Jeez. So she was just there like waiting for him and hoping he'd get home, or?
I guess they have like a condo. And the walls aren't that thin, but I guess the neighbor heard like a big loud crash. She ran over and was like knocking at the door until my mom came down.
Oh, wow.
And so she hung out with her, and she was like waiting outside and was like, Walter, like something happened.
Oh my goodness.
So, luckily that was good timing that he was, yeah. I guess everything's fine. It's just her arm, but I feel really bad. And she's still in a lot of pain too. And then my sister's like, I don't know if tomorrow they're supposed to see a specialist and hopefully just fully cast it. It was like either surgery or a cast, so they have to check first. But my sister broke her foot a couple months ago, and it was weeks and weeks of not really getting an answer, and the whole specialist and insurance thing. And they're like, you broke your foot, you didn't break your foot, you broke your foot, you didn't break your foot, and we don't know what's wrong. It's just like there's always some weird fucking thing. They don't ever know
Mhm.
what's wrong. So hopefully tomorrow goes well. But my sister is like, I don't think they're gonna do anything. I think she's actually going to a general doctor, and now they have to send her to another specialist because the ER sends you somewhere, but that's not included in your insurance, so she can't use it.
Mm.
So I don't know.
Oh my
That
God.
happened, so I'm feeling like maybe I don't know if I have time, but I was gonna try to maybe go down there tomorrow, but I don't even know if that's helpful just to maybe
Hmm.
see her. And then I woke up in the morning after texting with my dad in the middle of the night,
Mm-hmm.
calling him, being in a panic. I hear this crash in the middle of the night. I wake up, I look outside, I don't see anything. I was working on a short film, so it was a
Mm-hmm.
shoot day yesterday. I wake up, Mike is like helping me load the car. I go to get in the car, and someone had done a hit and run and hit my car.
What?
And I can't open my driver's side door.
Oh my God.
So now I'm like and I didn't have time to do anything because I had to go to the shoot. So I still have to call my insurance after this. I just woke up after like a 17-hour day yesterday, so I'm like not
Wow.
even a person. And I went to all my
Wow.
neighbors and asked if they saw anything or heard anything, and someone has a Ring camera. So
Uh-huh.
I looked at it a little bit before we started recording, but I didn't find anything. But I know it doesn't show my car, but you can see like the car over. So you would be able to hear and see something happening.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully, and there's another car on my street because it was a white car. That also has damage on the opposite side of their car. I'm like, did you just hit my car and then park your car right here?
Oh, so you think it might be somebody
Yeah,
who Oh,
because it's a
wow.
neighborhood. I'm like, I kind of think it might have been them, but I want to look at the footage first. And if I see that car, I'm gonna go knock on all the doors and be like, is this your
Yeah.
car? I know you ran
Yeah.
into my car. I saw it and I heard it happen.
Well, there
I don't know if that's
is
useful, but
so the last couple of days, Mars, the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, conflict, has been transiting through your third house, which is the house that represents quick trips or commutes. So it rules cars, and it's
oh,
squaring your Pluto, the god of death.
shit's not gonna be the same as it used to
So
be.
it's like a death to your car
Ugh.
or a transformation.
Well, now I'm kind of
Yeah.
worried also, like, because what if my car's totaled? Like, it doesn't look that bad, but it's not like my car's worth that much. Like, car shit is so expensive. I'm like,
Yeah.
and then even if they give me money for my car, I can't buy another car that's as nice as my car for the same amount. It's like a half of what my car is really like worth. Like,
And do you owe a lot of money on that car?
I think I had a 5-year loan, and I think it's been 3 years.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'd be able to pay that off and then have money to put down on the next thing.
So annoyed. And I just bought a battery. I just went and got it
Oh my
all its tune
God.
up shit. So I already
Yep.
spent like
Yep.
almost $2,000 having car issues
Oh
this
my
past month.
God. Oh my God.
I'm just so over it.
Wow.
So that kind of
Wow.
felt agitating. I'm
Mm.
like, there's nothing to do, but I'm just a little bit like, I feel
Mm-hmm.
bad for my parents.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Everything feels a little bit. I
Mm-mm.
mean, also it's been like, I think maybe for the last 3 weeks, every week I'm like, yeah, I feel like I haven't had a day off. I feel like I'm still on that thing. People keep asking me like, oh, what did you do this weekend? I'm like, or what are you going to do this weekend? I'm like, this is my Monday, but I never got a day off. And now it's
Yeah.
like, I think week 4. So I'm feeling pretty beat. And then
Mm.
today we record, and I'm going to try to edit today while I'm kind of cleaning. My house looks like an insane person lives here. Like a week ago, I had clean, it was like spotless and beautiful. And then I had this production. Anytime production's happening, it's like I'm not even a person. And then I worked the weekend in addition to that, which was just absurd. So now I'm just
Yeah.
kind of playing catch up.
Uh,
I just went
uh,
to In and Out this
yeah.
morning after the gym.
Yeah.
Perfect combo.
Yeah. Exactly.
And usually In and Out has the longest line. So someone comes to the window, they ask you what you want to order, you place
Mhm.
your order, you go pick it up. Well,
Yeah.
there was no line. So I forgot how a drive-through works, and I just drove. I never ordered. I just drove straight up to the window there was like one car in front of me. So then I got
drove
there and
to
I
the
was
second window instead of the first window. You didn't stop at the first window, or
there's no first window in and out. There's just a window.
no? There's two
Well,
windows.
not at this one. That's
No,
like
okay.
one of those small little hut type of ones that you kind of drive through the building.
All right.
So I just get to the window and I'm like, wait, I didn't even I was like, oh my God, I fucked up. I didn't even order anything.
Yeah.
I forgot that you're supposed to stop at the speaker because I've never ordered at
Oh,
the
the
speaker from In-N-Out.
speaker. Oh, okay, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I'm just out of it. I was going to ask you something. Maybe we should get into the week.
Okay.
I don't know if we have, should we do, I feel like we talked a lot.
Yeah, we don't need
intro.
to do questions. We'll do questions next week, I guess. Yeah, that was a long intro. So
yeah, it was nice. It was a nice
it was
catch
good
up.
though. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But
So-
if you are a new listener, the best way to follow along with the podcast is to go to the website, theweeklytransit.com, go to the forecast. That's where we give a summary of what we talk about on here. We write all of Scott's journal prompts, which are kind of my favorite part. And it also shows the images. So if you want to learn the language of astrology, learning the images learning the images are really important. Learning the images are really important. So if you go to the website, they live there. And they also live on YouTube or Spotify. There's a video version where we present them. So you go to the website or YouTube or Spotify and grab a copy of The Basics of Astrology, which is the book we put together. It's available in the show notes. It's on Amazon. It's $10 for a download or $30 for a really pretty coffee table book.
Yeah, if you want to learn a language, if you want to become fluent in any language, you need to learn how to read the language. And so that's what The Basics of Astrology is all about, teaching you the symbols. It's a simple guide.
Remember I just like refused to learn it. I was like the death of me. He's like, every week Scott would be like, just if you learn the signs and symbols, it'll be easier. And I was just like, I can't. I won't and I can't. And he was like, okay, well, I want to write this book. So like, can you help me with design and all this stuff? And in the end of, editing and looking at these symbols and reorganizing them, and I learned them. And I was like, God damn it. This is life-changing. It makes everything so much easier. And it also allows you to be much more intuitive with the language. So like, obviously I always want you as my astrologer, but on day-to-day simpler stuff, when something's going on, if it's not a catastrophe or I'm not like having a meltdown, I'm like, oh, like this is happening, that's happening. I just look at the alignments for the day and I can just absorb it kind of instantly with, the basics of astrology is very simple. So it's like just a few quick words and sentences that go along with each sign and each symbol. And it allows you to just give yourself a sense of what is going on yourself, which I think is beautiful.
Yes.
And then would you also like to thank our sponsors before we get into the week?
Yes. Let's thank the sponsors. We want to thank Samantha, Jenny, Jessica, Kendra, Larry, Jasmine, Brenna, Janelle, Vincent and Michelle, Clarissa, Aline, Cassie, Merdinas, Brooke, Ricky, Amaranth, Annie, Amber, Deborah, Haley, Janine, and Carrie.
Thank you all so much for donating to the podcast. We appreciate all of you. It allows us to spend more time doing what we love, sharing the planets and stars with you. And if you'd like to donate to the podcast, if you go to the show notes, there's a support link. You can donate $1, $5, or $10 a month. And if you just want to support in other ways, you can write us a review. You can rate us 5 stars. You can buy The Basics of Astrology. You can write us a review on The Basics of Astrology on Amazon. And we're really trying to monetize our YouTube channel, which means we need to get to 1,000 subscribers. So even if you don't necessarily go to YouTube and watch us all the time, if you just go hit the subscribe link, that would be very beneficial to us. I think we have 200. I think we're at like 800. We need 200 more. And if everyone that was listening signed up, then we would have a few thousand.
We'd be there.
Yeah.
We'd be there.
So,
yeah, we've got like over 4,000 followers on Spotify. So
go subscribe. That would be very
yes.
I forgot how to speak. That would be
very great, very awesome, very cool.
That would be very cool. Thank you. Would you like to get us started on the week?
Well, yeah, I just have a couple announcements I wanted to make. So I have this idea for a class that I want to talk about, and I'd like people to email me if they're interested in it because I really don't like self promotion. I don't like promoting myself. I don't like flooding people's inboxes with, 3 days left until the registration closes, or I just, that drives me nuts. So I'm going to teach a class on the North Node. And
Yeah.
I want people who are interested in the class to reach out to me. Just email me North Node class so that I can get your information. And I will, once I feel like I have enough people that are interested, I will reach out to you and we'll plan a time that will hopefully work for most everyone. Because I don't really like picking a day and just saying this is the day that the class is happening, and then I have to like spend so much time promoting it, and I feel exhausted by that whole process. So I'd rather just have like a list of people that are interested in the class, and then I can reach out to you and we'll figure out, a time that will work for the majority. And yeah, so, and I also want to offer something else new that I'm calling the cosmic reset. So
Ooh.
if you are wanting to kind of get like a taste of what it is I do with the cosmic pathway, this is kind of like a mini cosmic pathway. We'd meet for 5 weeks, and we'd meet every week, once a week for 5 weeks for 30 minutes. So it's just a quick exchange. It's mostly going to be, you might have a couple questions and me sharing with you, answering those questions and sharing with you what you need to look for in the week ahead. So if you're interested in the cosmic reset, email me cosmic reset in the subject line. If you're interested in the North Node class, email me and just put North Node class in the subject line. And I'll look forward to hearing from you.
And then if you want, only if you're open to it, Scott, we can make a poll on Spotify and it allows
Yeah.
you to ask other questions. So you can just
Oh,
say who wants to be involved in a class.
okay.
Um, I don't know if that's a yes or no. Or, I mean, that's where we put our questions, but people can
Yeah.
write in there too and just say I'm interested in the classes. I think there's a couple options on Spotify, so that might
I
be an
guess
easy option.
I want people's emails though too. So I don't know if people would feel comfortable putting, I guess maybe we're the only ones that see those though, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
they could put their email in there. Okay, cool. So I'll put that in as a question. Good idea, Ingrid. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
the easier the better. Even for me, even if I was
Yeah.
interested, I probably wouldn't email you. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
let's make
Okay.
we'll try to make it
Good.
easy.
I'm gonna put that in this week's yeah, I'll put it in the
Okay.
question.
In the question.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
if you listen on Spotify,
I
there'll be a
love
little
that.
spot you can write your email. If you're interested in class, you can just write your email, and then if you're interested in the North Node or the Cosmic Reset.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, thank you, Ingrid. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We can also make a box on the website too, where it's like a couple different options. There's different mailing lists that people can sign up for, so we can make one just for those two items as well.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the week. It's the week of Monday, or the week of June 12th through the 18th. We begin here with Monday, June 12th, where we are looking at, this is the sun in Gemini. The sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality in the mutable air sign, symbolized by the twins, Gemini, forming this supportive sextile with the moon, the planet of emotions, in the cardinal fire sign, symbolized by the ram,
Mm.
Aries. So
So
this, yeah,
I'm just curious. Well, before
yeah,
we even explain it, I just think that by looking at the alignment without seeing the sextile, that it seems like it would be a good alignment.
yeah. And why is
Because
that?
of Gemini is like a curious energy, like
Mm-hmm.
the sun is very vibrant and it's kind of bringing life to it. And then Aries moon, your emotions, you want to be expressive. So you're able to express your curiosity directly to people. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that seems intuitive because it's the air and the fire sign mixed together, or if there was like another combination of how you get like the sextile there that makes it, an easy alignment.
Yes, no, I love that. I mean, air fuels fire, fire raises the air. Curiosity, uh, curiosity can be fueled by, can be, what's the word? It can be stimulated by courage. You know,
Mm.
the moon in Aries, when the moon is transiting through Aries, it's bringing an emotional sensitivity to your sense of self. And so you're more emotionally connected to yourself and what you want and what's important to you. And with the sun in Gemini, that is bringing vitality to curiosity. So maybe there's some questions that you want to ask somebody that you have been afraid to ask, or you've been a bit timid to ask these questions. Now is a time when you are receiving that support to put yourself forward and ask the question. But then it's also having the courage to listen too, because listening, if you ask a question and you don't listen, then what's the point of the question? So so it's important, you want to have the courage to listen. And it's Gemini season. Gemini is all about listening. So it's about understanding how other people think, what's going on with them.
I'm also thinking like when someone's asking you a question, being open and like brave enough to answer authentically. Like sometimes someone asks you a question and they're being genuine and they want to know, but we can be defensive
Mm-hmm.
where they're like, "Oh, well, why did you do that?" Like, well, because of this and that. And you're like, "Well, I was literally just asking you because I really wanted to know. I wasn't trying to be a
Mm-hmm.
bitch or like poke at you." So like when you're feeling receptive to I think that's kind of like the root of all conflict is when people both aren't on the same page, when someone's actually curious and they're trying to further the relationship and go deeper, and the other
Yeah.
person is just like not having it. So when that person's open and receptive to the questions, then you get more authentic answers.
Yes. Yes. I think it's also how you ask the question too. You
Ooh,
know, like
okay.
this, like I spent some time like kind of eavesdropping on Gabriella's classes when she was at the Pacifica Graduate Institute in the first year and a half or 2 years. It was all remote because of COVID. And I remember one time one of her professors was like, don't ask the question why this, why did you do that, or why, because it's like accusatory in some way.
It's
So
annoying too. It's just like,
yeah,
what do you mean fucking why? I fucked
yeah,
up. Like I'm trying
yeah,
to share with you and why? I don't know why. You tell me. I think that maybe someone asked me that
yes.
before and I was like, "You tell me why. I'm
Mm-hmm.
paying you. Aren't you supposed to tell me why?"
Hmm. So maybe it's like, what is your motivation for making a decision like that? Or just
Mm,
reframing it in some way that is less pointed and
yeah.
accusatory and more curious and optimistic in really wanting to just know. I'm just curious. I'm
I
not
think that
judging you.
I really like that the art of asking a like an emotionally intelligent and genuine question.
Hmm.
I mean, it does make
Yes.
all the difference. There's a different, I
Yes.
mean, why and why can be interpreted two different ways just based on the words that you're using.
Hmm. Yes. It's also, the tone, I guess, that you're asking the question in
Yeah.
as well. That also makes a difference.
Oh, for
So,
sure. I mean, even in you, I think that you can be the things that you ask when you're trying to pull something out of me and get to the root of like maybe the why behind what I'm doing
mhm,
could easily be inflammatory, but it is
mhm,
you're not asking me the question. The intention behind your questions is to help me get to the bottom of it,
mhm,
to answer it myself. Like, why am you want me to know why without you saying why? Like, there is a depth
yeah.
and a curiosity and an authenticity to the meaning behind your words. You're not trying to poke
Mm.
at me, you're trying to help me. And I
And
think
there
you're right, the
can,
tone.
yes. With the moon in Aries, though, there can be some maybe aggression there as well, where you're trying to agitate somebody, whether you're aware of it or not. You're trying to agitate them with your questions. And so if that's the case, then it's probably coming from a place of fear, which is the shadow side of Aries. If you're coming from a place of love, then you're not going to be the question's not going to feel like you're attacking somebody. It's going
I think that the fear can live on the on the person of the on the side of the person that is getting asked the questions. Like I feel like you've asked me many of an inflammatory question, you know, even if it might rile me up, because you're not scared of how I might react. You're not doing it to piss me off. You're doing it to, like, you know, ignite me. And I think that that's also, like, it's okay to feel fear and to feel defensive and to, like, you know, stir some shit up, because not everything is easy. And sometimes to get to the bottom of things, it's like, it's upsetting. Like,
Yes.
not that you're making me angry, but you for sure have made me feel upset because of the things that come up within myself that I'm discovering. Like, it's upsetting to find out that, you know, I've been doing these things to myself, and, you know, it's based on my childhood. It's upsetting to, like, to see these revelations open up that, you know, I could have had control over in the past, but I didn't have the tools at the time. It can be sad. It can be just a lot of things can come up when you reveal through the art of the question.
I love it. That's your Gemini rising book, The Art of the Question by Ingrid Iverson. That's I love it. I love it. That's a great title. So Tuesday, June 13th, we've got the moon has now transited from Aries into Taurus, and it forms a conjunction here with the North Node, the soul's purpose or karmic pathway of the soul, in the fixed earth sign symbolized by the bull. That's what Taurus is. And so, you know, this is bringing that emotional sensitivity to your self-worth, what you value, what's important to you, your likes and dislikes. How are you spending your money? How are you making your money? Is it in alignment with your self-worth? You know, there's an interesting thing that I put in the forecast. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? When Jupiter was conjunct the North Node, I thought it was very interesting because I didn't mention it on the podcast. So sometimes, you know, read the forecast, because some of the things after the podcast and I'm writing the forecast, I'm like, oh, I should have thought about this in the podcast, but I didn't. So I'm writing in the forecast. But Jupiter, the last time Jupiter was conjunct the North Node, and it's still close to the North Node, but the last time they were conjunct in Taurus was May of 1929, which was 6 months before Black Thursday, the great crash of 29, which was the beginning of the Great Depression.
Oh.
So
no, I don't like this.
So I don't know what that means for us. But
I mean, I feel like we're already there, so
it kind of feels like we're teetering on something like that. And so with the moon conjunct the North Node, it's very important to just tap into your values. Really take a look at your bank accounts, your finances. How are you making money? What are you doing to make your money? Is what you are doing to make your money, does that align with your sense of self-worth and your personal values? And then what are you spending your money on? And how does what you're spending your money on bringing you something back that you truly feel good about having?
So, like, this weekend I worked at the club, but then I also did this film thing, and we always talk about, you know, maybe examples of working at the restaurant and then spending all your money drinking. But, like, the club, when I'm managing it properly, I think it can be very lucrative and I don't feel as drained. But when I have to do it, like, more full time, like this weekend I bought like a a Monster, like 2 days in it. Like, I don't normally drink energy drinks. Only in the last month I just started re-drinking coffee, because I've just been like, I don't have enough life force to do all the things that I have on my plate. So I, like, this weekend I bought like all these energy drinks, and then, like, I don't know, I was just like I was so hungry. I don't even know what I ate. I've in like 3 years of working at Jet, I have eaten there 3 times because of a food panic. I was like, I just have to eat something. So I had chicken tenders, this weekend at the club. So, that's not, when I'm in a dark place, when I've eaten food from a strip club, that is disgusting. I
Oh
just
my
was like,
God.
and then I was like, I was like, I'm either have to leave to go eat right now because I didn't bring snacks. Like the day before, I had all my snacks, I had all my drinks, like hydration and nutrition stuff. And I was like, okay, perfect. Like that's a setup for a good day. The next day, I just didn't have enough time to like, ended up with an energy drink, no food. It was just a bad combo. And I don't want to be spending my money on energy drinks and disgusting chicken tenders. So it's like sometimes that I really have to set myself up to success to feel good there. And if I don't, it's, a recipe for me to be spending money on things that are a waste of money and they don't actually bring me any joy. They're just like a big band-aid.
So that's what securing your values is all about. It's saying that I value good food, good, healthy food, which means I cannot allow anything to get in the way of my time that I need to have a good, healthy meal that allows me to feel good.
And then I even snapped at one of the customers, which I also try not to do anymore. And it was because I was starving. And I was just like, this is what happens when I don't like have my priorities right. And then sometimes I don't think dancing is like the ideal path for me. I think I can make it work, but there is some some finagling that has to happen for it to really work for me. And so that was just kind of a little wake up call of, kind of snapping at somebody, eating shitty food, energy drinks. And then, then I worked production, which kind of feels like a very chaotic energy, but it definitely feels more fulfilling at the end of the day, helping on people's art projects. But it was actually kind of a bad example because, again, there's just not enough rest and it's hard to eat healthy. Like I organized the food. So I ordered us Zanku chicken, which is like Mediterranean food. So that felt really nice. We all had I got good snacks for everyone. So, I mean, that's always my priority is making sure.
It's Armenian food. Zanku
is it really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah. It's so good. Chris was there and he was like, the garlic sauce that they have, like the whipped garlic. He's
That's their
I want to be
bathed,
right I want to be laid to, when I die, I need to be laid in a bed of this.
Yes. Yes. I love it.
But yeah, the values, valuing ourselves and where we're making our money and making sure that we're spending our money on the things that actually bring us joy.
Exactly. And so that theme continues as we move to Wednesday, June 14th, where we're looking at the moon still in Taurus, aligning with Saturn, the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, and authority in the mutable water sign symbolized by the fish, Pisces. So this is a supportive sextile. This is about taking responsibility for what you value and really taking responsibility to trust your intuition based on what you value, show yourself compassion that you deserve to have what you value, be empathetic to others who may be infringing upon your values, but also maintaining healthy boundaries between you and anyone who's infringing upon your values, and having faith, manifesting what it is you want in the material. That's what this is about.
I mean, even just going back to yesterday's stuff, it's like, okay, well, a lot of the girls can just eat chicken tenders every night and drink alcohol and energy drinks, and they feel they love doing it. They feel like it's like they're kind of their routine. They kind of enjoy it, and that's great for them. I can have a boundary and be like, oh, that's good. That makes her feel good, but knowing myself enough to know that that doesn't make me feel good. I know one of the girls is like, okay, make sure you bring your snacks, make sure you bring your things so you can have a good day. Always cheering me on. She doesn't care about them, but she knows that having people that appreciate you for who you are and vice versa.
She's supporting what you value. She knows that Ingrid needs good food. And when she doesn't have that food at work, she's going to be cranky. And I don't want to have to deal with that. And I don't want any customers having to deal with that because I'm working, for them too, So
I mean, I think I bring a better energy to the club. I think I'm mostly in a pretty good mood, but if I'm hungry, it's just everything's out the window. People are like, what the fuck is wrong? What happened to her?
Exactly.
She had to
Exactly.
eat chicken tenders and now she's pissed.
Yeah. Vibe killer. Yeah, the
Yeah.
chicken tenders are a vibe killer. unless you're like a 7-year-old boy, my nephew loves the
I
chicken
mean,
tenders. So
I'm not against chicken tenders. It's specifically probably the cheapest, trashiest chicken tenders that have ever lived in the
yeah,
oldest, grossest oil, like the combo. I'm like, are they
yeah.
even washing their I'm sure they're washing their hands, but I just get freaked out. I'm like, this is not a food place. You don't need to
Mm-mm.
eat food. This isn't where you eat food.
Oh my god. Got to open up a fine dining strip club. That's what
I thought
that
you were gonna say a fine dining chicken tender place. Is what I
or
thought you
that
were
too.
gonna
Yeah.
say.
Oh my god. Thursday, June 15th, we've got Saturn again in Pisces squaring off with Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination. In the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins and ruled by Mercury, Gemini. So Mercury and Gemini squaring off with Saturn in Pisces. There's a vice. Our mind is in a vice right now where it's like we're trying to connect our conscious thoughts to our unconscious reality, or bringing the dream into reality. Like Ingrid with her microphone right now. What the?
Sorry.
Ingrid, Gemini rising, just can't stop fidgeting, moving. It's
Like I can't. It's a catastrophe every
oh
time I have
my
to sit here.
god. Oh my god. So Mercury in Gemini, it's bringing that natural sense of curiosity, of inquisitiveness, wanting to listen and learn. But then Saturn in Pisces, restricting or constricting our unconscious. So maybe it's harder to listen because we're stuck in our dream world, or if our mind is drifting. Maybe we're more tired than normal. I've been hearing a lot of people saying like they haven't been sleeping well. Maybe that has to do with Saturn in Pisces, because Pisces is the sign of dreams. Saturn is the planet of restriction. So, what does this mean? There's work to be done to truly articulate your unconscious thoughts, work to be done to articulate your conscious thoughts, work to be done to listen compassionately, but also actively.
I'm also wondering, maybe the curiosity and the questions you're trying to answer by and learning about yourself, maybe you're delving into your subconscious and you don't like what's in there, and that's like the uncomfortable square part.
Yes, it's like being compassionately curious, so
Okay.
that when you're asking the question, maybe it's to yourself, maybe it's to someone else, you're asking the question compassionately, as if, how would I feel if someone was asking me this question?
I mean, just kind of going back to um the 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 intro of where we're talking, was it the intro we were talking about that? Or maybe a Monday we were talking about, how you ask the question is so important. Having
Yes,
compassion and
yes,
understanding.
yes, exactly. Really recognizing that, we're all here, uh,
And it all sucks.
souls.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Or no, I wasn't gonna say it all
Oh, okay.
sucks, but like, like we're stuck here together. We
Yeah.
are. So let's be compassionate to ourselves. Let's be empathetic to others. It's hard sometimes not to just look at another person as just this other thing that's keeping me from what I want. That's a part of you, actually. That person that you're angry at is a part of you. It's hard to think that way and live life that way, but this is part of what this energy is about, with Saturn in Pisces and then Mercury in Gemini.
I mean, I think it's really hard. I mean, it's hard to be compassionate of others sometimes because you don't understand them. And also, it's hard to be compassionate to ourselves. It's like if you can't be compassionate to someone else, you're certainly not going to be compassionate to yourself. Like, they
Yeah.
kind of go hand in hand, and they're sometimes a tough thing to swallow.
Mm-hmm. And then also going back to the money thing too, with like the Taurus energy, Mercury is the god of merchants and thieves. So Mercury has to do with commerce
Oh.
and sharing, exchanging, you buying and selling and that sort of stuff. So, with bringing that Saturn energy, the authority in Pisces, the dream, manifesting the exchange of money. What do you want that money exchange to look like for you? So this continues on with Mercury in Gemini as we move to Friday, June 16th. Mercury forms a conjunction with the moon. So this is bringing an emotional sensitivity to your curiosity, the ability to communicate your emotions, to ask questions from an emotional place, to listen on an emotional level.
Or is it going to be easier?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think easier. Yeah, I think it's supporting you to increase that emotional intelligence, to ask questions. Yeah, to ask questions that are emotionally intelligent.
I think that just takes practice. I think if we're practicing this type of curiosity all week, it's just going to be easier and easier. It can definitely be uncomfortable at first being the asker, not knowing what the other person's going to say, how they're going to take it, and then even being on the receiving end. Like it can be awkward, but like when you have like a grounded emotional intelligence about the questions themselves, it's going to go so much smoother. Like if you're really tapping into getting to the bottom of it, because sometimes you ask somebody something and they don't want to tell you the answer, and it's like, okay,
or you ask somebody something and you think you know the answer already, so you're being like condescending.
Yeah,
you're
trying to like answer it with the question, like I already know.
Yeah.
I know the answer to the
It's like it's happened at the restaurant all the time where you have this like condescending manager that comes in and says, "Does this table look set?"
That's some I hate. Yeah,
and it's like if there's a fucking problem with the table, then tell me what you want to change. Don't ask me this condescending question.
Okay,
You're being an asshole right now.
That's the perfect
Don't ask
example.
me, does this table look set? Does this food look? It's like what do you want? You don't have a question. No. You actually just want to tell me something, but you're afraid to say it. So you're posing it into a question to be like passive aggressive.
A question, passive aggressive. Avoid being passive aggressive. It's not attractive, and you never get what you want. No one's going to respect you as an authority if you do things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I was on set all week. Do you think that I just don't think that ever goes well. That doesn't go well. Just tell people what you want and say it in a kind way.
We're in a tense environment right now. I need you to be direct with me. Yeah. Don't play these fucking psychological games with me. So moving on to Saturday, June 17th, we've got the new moon in Gemini. Yay. Yes, new moon in Gemini. So if you're curious in learning how this moon cycle is going to be affecting you, which is the new moon in Gemini and the full moon in Capricorn, you can enroll in the moon cycle classes at theweeklytransit.com. And so this is the new moon in Gemini. When you think of Gemini, think of these four cornerstones: questions, listening, communication, and connecting. So you want to ask the question, you want to be able to listen, you want to communicate back what you've heard or sharing your insight into what you've received. And then through this conversation, which could be another cornerstone, if there's 5 corners of the Gemini house, then it's about connecting. Because when we're asking questions and listening, you're learning from whatever the person that you're talking to is sharing with you, and you file that away and you're like, oh, so this is what they're interested in, or this is their perspective. I know somebody else over here who could relate to that. So I'm going to connect these two people together, because Gemini is about connecting. It's about being a conduit. So we want to set our intentions to ask questions, to listen, we want to set our intentions to be a better communicator. We want to set our intentions to be a connector. Who would you like to connect with? And who would you like to connect together? Like, if you know two people in your life who don't know each other, but they have common interests and they could help each other in some way, connecting them together. So this is what the new moon in Gemini is about. It's occurring at 9:38 p.m. on Saturday, June 17th. We like to set our intentions after this time, 9:38 p.m. Pacific time. You set it after because that is when the wave is beginning. You set it before and you're in the old lunar cycle. So this is putting you in the new energy. And hopefully, yes.
I like that.
Yeah, think of it as like catching a wave. It's like we're swimming in and the wave's starting to crest, and you want to get it turned around fast enough to like drop into the wave, as opposed to exactly, as opposed to
left in the dust.
Yes, the wave is off to the shore and you're behind it, so you don't want to be there. So hopefully we're all going to be better listeners, better communicators, and we're going to be connecting with people and learning a little bit about a lot. We want to gather information and be a little bit smarter. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the planet of the conscious mind. So how can you be smarter? Now, we also want to mention Saturn here, which is all by itself, but you'll notice the 7 is red, which means that Saturn is retrograde today. It begins its retrograde transit. Saturn moved into its retrograde shadow on March 11th of this year. It begins retrograde today on June 17th. It moved into its retrograde shadow. It's 0 degrees in Pisces. So literally right after it moved into Pisces, it was in the shadow. It's going to move back to 0 degrees on November 4th. And it will move, that's when the retrograde ends, November 4th. And then it moves out of its shadow past the point where it is right now on February 7th, 2024. So if you have key astrological points in Sagittarius or Gemini between degrees 0 and 7, you want to be very mindful, because there could be feelings of restriction or limitation in whatever these areas are. But through it all, you remember Saturn in Pisces is about committing to doing the work to trust your intuition. And then when you trust your intuition and things don't go the way that you had hoped, to show yourself compassion, and then commit to doing the work to be empathetic to those involved in the decisions that you made through trusting your intuition, and it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. Do the work required to show yourself compassion, do the work required to be empathetic to others, and most importantly, do the work required to have faith that everything that is occurring in your life right now is for some greater, higher purpose, even if it feels like I trusted my intuition, I thought it was right, but now I know that it's wrong. Maybe once you get to a point further down the road, you're going to look back and say, oh, it actually was the right choice, and I understand why I fell on my face in that interim after I made that choice. And I'm happy where I am right now. So if you're curious about how this Saturn transit is affecting you directly, you can contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com.
I wanted to tag on to that. You were talking about learning and being curious, and if things are not going as planned, we followed our intuition, we didn't get what we wanted. It's like, what can we learn out of that experience that we can take into our future? Like, usually there is a lesson there, even if it's maybe not the one that you wanted. All of these, we acquire all of these skills cumulatively over time. So maybe dancing is not my end all be all career, but I learn a lot of really good skills on how to manage my mood and how to take care of myself and how to authentically connect with people and like being self-motivated. There's no one to manage you there. So there's so many skills that can translate to anything else in life. Just because I'm maybe not doing the one thing that I think I'm like most meant for doesn't mean I'm not learning so much through all these other things. Even with like film, I'm like, I love being in the film world, but any skill in that world is like anytime you're acquiring a new skill, it can be used in so many ways. We don't want to learn about communication because what? Because what? Then we're gonna be better communicators. That's gonna impact every relationship and career and money, just
Totally.
every aspect of our lives. So
Yes.
there is
Like
something there to learn.
Totally. I love it. Love it, Ingrid. Love your attitude. Like imagine if you were a better listener. Imagine if you were a better communicator. I mean, who doesn't want that? And so, that's what this is about.
Well, I think our ego can get in the way.
I already am a good communicator. I already am a good listener. What do you mean I'm not listening?
I heard what you said.
Yeah,
I know what
exactly.
you mean.
Yeah, exactly. I
know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Hilarious. I love it. So good. All right. Well, moving on to Sunday, June 18th, we've got the sun in Gemini again, aligning with Neptune, the god of fresh water and the sea, the planet of illusion, deception, compassion, and intuition, in Pisces, the sign that is ruled by Neptune. So, earlier in the week, we had Saturn squaring off with Mercury in Gemini, and now we have Saturn in Pisces squaring off with Mercury in Gemini. Now we have Neptune in Pisces squaring off with the sun in Gemini. So this is a similar sort of tone or frequency. Maybe it's the same song being played with different instruments, but the theme of it all is, like, we've talked about this before so much, I feel like, in the past in other episodes. Maybe it was a year ago when the sun was transiting through Gemini and squaring off with Neptune and Pisces. But that Pisces energy is that intuition, where it's like you just said, I know what you're saying. It's like you have like this sort of intuitive ability to, I know what they're thinking. I know, you just have this feeling that tells you. But do you really? Do you really know what's going on with that other person?
Sometimes our intuition is clouded by our trauma.
Yes.
And it feels like intuition, but it's just something that reminds us of some other time period.
I've been through this before. I've dated someone just like this. Yes.
I know what happens when you say something like this, or I know what happens when someone acts like that. It's like, well, maybe if you had some compassion, you would be like thinking, oh, that person's really tired and overwhelmed. Like, even the other day, Chris was being super aggro just through a text. And at first I was a little defensive and I was getting irritated. And then after a minute, I was like, oh, I just asked him, are you okay? Because I was like, oh, he's not okay. And he said, no, I'm not okay. I didn't get any sleep. This didn't happen. Something's happened. Oh, has nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean that I did something wrong or something's happening between us. Nothing's happening between us. He's having a bad day.
Yes. So it's
all I had to do was ask, are you okay? No.
That's it.
And then that brings me and then that makes me compassionate when I'm like, oh, he's having a shitty day. Didn't get any fucking sleep. Everything's going wrong. Of course he's having a panic. That sucks. Yes.
And so it's bringing that Gemini energy into the mix and asking the question rather than making the assumption based on your intuition.
And it's not always easy to ask that simple question either, to not get triggered and be like, you just think I'm stupid and you're just being rude. Like, I had it for a moment and I was like, okay, well, let's see. Let's be curious. Maybe there's something else going on.
Exactly.
Practice. But if we were all able to, I mean, it's just like we all have things that it's impossible to never get poked at by something that's happened in the past. That's just how we are wired. That's like a protective mechanism for like even like animals, that you remember
Yes.
something because you need to be prepared and have like a like an
Defense.
automatic response,
Yeah.
to protect yourself.
Mhm,
But like
mhm.
we're not really in fight or flight. We don't always need to be protecting ourselves. It's
Yes.
okay to kind of let your guard down. And
So back up your intuition with the facts, and you'll get the facts
yes.
by asking the question.
Yes, that right
Yes.
there. The golden ticket of the week.
And when you ask the question, be compassionate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it like instantly diffused the issue when I said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not okay. And then it's like, and then I think he even realized, it has nothing to do with her asking me a question about the film project. It's just that
Mhm.
I'm having a bad day, so I'm not going to take it out on her. I just realized that I am just having a bad day.
Yes. Yes. And then you were able to have empathy for him.
Yeah. I
Rather
don't want
than
him to have a
getting
bad
on.
day.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, he's having a shitty day. And then he has more empathy for you because you cared enough to ask. You were compassionate with him.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like such a
Amazing.
simple solution
I
that
know,
most
right?
of the time doesn't happen.
Because we're on edge and we've been working too hard, and all I've
Yeah.
eaten today is chicken fingers from the strip club.
That.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. All right, Ingrid.
Thank
Well,
you.
I catch this hit and run person.
Oh my God, I'm
Got
on it.
time to
I'm
do
on it
some
over here.
neighborhood sleuthing and figure out who the culprit is.
I'll keep you posted.
Yes, please do. Hopefully by next week you have an answer for us. You've caught the bandit.
Culprit.
Yeah, the culprit.
Well, thank
All
you,
right,
thank
Ingrid.
you, thank you so much, Scott.
You're welcome, Ingrid.
I will
I'll
see
you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. Follow us on Instagram for daily updates about the planetary alignments and how to work with the energy. If this podcast is helping you navigate life more gracefully, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and share with your friends. If you're ready to go deeper, book a personal reading with Scott or sign up for his new moon, full moon class at theweeklytransit.com.
The Weekly Transit.